Yeah. What's going on, good people? So glad you're with us. So glad. Hope you have been enjoying the content, guys. We are definitely adding some new spicy pieces, some new things to our platform. So hopefully you are feeling us with it, because this is how we're moving. And yeah, what we got?
So you know that the head part of deception on this earth, one of the main deception that's cast out to the people is through Hollywood. You got good people. You got good people that's in Hollywood. People that love God. That's in it for acting and for that only. But you got people, you got things of Hollywood that aren't that. Mm-hmm. And I'm curious to see this, man. And shout out, this is by Shattered Paradise. It's the Hollywood secret cults revealed on camera.
Really?
Yep. So we're going to do the first half of this.
Okay.
If y'all like this, we'll do the second half. Okay. So let's get it.
Man, so many good movies made in Hollywood. Got to give people it out. Well, let's go. We know that these cults do exist. Patreons. Let's go. They're here.
Right. Us.
That was a creepy movie.
Yeah, that was.
I said that I wanted to have kids, and you said that you wanted me to have a vasectomy. What did I do? And then, when you said that you might want to have kids, and I wasn't so sure, who had the vasectomy reversed? And then when you said you definitely didn't want to have kids, who had it reversed back? Snip, snap, snip, snap, snip, snap. I did. You have no idea the physical toll the 3 vasectomies have on a person.
Maybe I should cut something off of you.
Oh, man.
3,000 eunuchs in formation, armed with only spears, shields, and spiked helms. The Unsullied had slipped past the Kull's army in the night.
And the Emmy goes to Game of Thrones.
In the end, only 600 Unsullied remained.
This is the modern age. They told us he didn't exist. They said ancient cultures were less evolved and therefore susceptible to primitive superstition.
Are we dreaming?
After proclaiming God to be just a figment of unscientific imaginations, they emerged from the shadows of the windowless stone lodge with a new doctrine. The doctrine of illuminated knowledge to enlighten humanity.
The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist.
Wow. Yeah, that's
Absolutely.
right. That's right.
We got to shout out. Did you shut the
I already shout out
Okay.
Shattered Paradise.
So much great content over there, guys.
Unfortunately, many have grown accustomed to the counterfeit light that emanates from the projectors of perversion.
Hollywood.
Yup.
They have become unable to differentiate the authentic light of truth from the glowing spotlight that envelops the Dionysian theater of deception.
Now the Spirit speaketh expressly that in the latter times some shall depart from the faith, giving heed to seducing spirits and doctrines of devils.
In the midst of this carnival of commercial confusion, an old religion was reborn.
In the shadows.
Do what thou wilt.
In the last days, evil, lawlessness shall prevail. Hostage.
Wow, NASA.
Many decent people were too distracted to realize they were being initiated into a cult of degeneracy and self-destruction.
Look at that.
In these, the last days,
Wow.
The demon god Bacchus was known to cross boundaries between the mortal and divine, the living and the dead.
And that's absolutely true what you said, because on Paramount, right across over there is the cemetery. Because if you that's over there in near Century City, and if you look to the left, there is this big cemetery over there on the other side. And I never could think of like cemetery right next to Paramount.
We hear some strange, eerie moaning sound coming from the side of the theater.
Hollywood has a secret history. A dark past filled with secret societies.
Nobody really knew quite what it was, and we all saw exactly the same thing.
Blood-curdling occult rituals and treaties with unseen forces.
Dionysus.
A figure.
Ooh, look at that.
It wasn't clear as to what we were looking at, but we knew that there was a figure back there.
The spirit of deception is running
And y'all
rampant.
stayed?
The demon behind the painted face.
Everybody was kind of like frozen.
A
Makes
masquerade
sense.
of unholy alliances.
Many of the thoughts going through the minds of your average American are not their own. They were planted there. They are actually the products of a multi-billion-dollar
Wow, look at
Luciferian
that.
industry. This industry disseminates the do-without-will philosophy on an industrial scale.
when the wicked are multiplied, transgression increaseth.
The spellcasters, the writers, the producers, the actors, the cunning hunter.
Creepy. Wow. It's not surprising because we've been awakened to several things already, but some of the stuff I am,
A lot of this stuff I'm new to.
yeah, it's like, okay, now, but I'm seeing more clearly of, you know, how this
In
agenda,
Hollywood.
yeah, has is been around for a long time.
But the Hollywood agenda is going to be one of the, it's got to be because how do you see the projection? How is the image portrayed to you if it's not done through Hollywood? That's how you see it. That's the source. This is one of the sources.
Mm-hmm.
It is a god of tragic art, and is the protector of theaters.
The Fox Theater in Taft is supposedly notorious for being haunted.
Long considered the most haunted building in Tampa, the Tampa Theater is...
Ghost hunters are investigating some local historic sites to see if there are any permanent visitors in the place.
Yeah, they're on the lookout for spooky activity at the Redford Theater on Lasser near Grand River.
The ghost story is already haunting one performing arts venue in Austin.
We want to take you to the third oldest building in Knoxville and what some say may possibly be the most haunted here in our city. Sit down, relax if you can, as we take you inside the Bijou Theater.
Wow, this is nationwide.
What? Oh, that's the...
Thousands of people have walked these floors for more than 200 years.
With history, I guess, comes hauntings and residual spirits and energies.
If walls could talk, you would hear stories of people who lived and died here when it was a hotel, a brothel, even a Civil War hospital.
It did treat both sides of the war, so sadly a lot of people took their last breaths in this building, in these floors, and in these walls.
Courtney Bergmeyer with a Bijou says one of the most famous people to die here was General William Sanders. His story is commemorated on this plaque, but some might say his story is far from over.
People say that they catch glimpses of a soldier and the gleam of his buttons around the corner of his eye. So we have to assume that that's General Sanders.
Wow.
Keeping an eye on things.
No, we're good.
No thanks.
He was a frightening and violent god with a variety of attributes that were both terrifying and wonderful, always the twin image of the twice-born. He was the bringer of madness. But he was also a bull god, a god of fertility.
Some kind of fake god.
Sensuality and sexuality. He was anarchic and revolutionary. He was the god of masquerade. The god of masquerade. He was the god of masquerade, which means seeing things literally other than they are. But importantly for our history, he was the god of possession. Dionysus was able to reveal himself directly to the individual. His worshippers were possessed by him.
So is this a real god?
Now we begin to see why Dionysus, this god of masquerade and possession, became the god of the theatre. Because in the early theatre, the actor believed himself to be possessed by the part he was playing. From our scant knowledge...
And I just want to say this is for entertainment purposes only. Did I say that right?
We know the actor was masked and wore a long robe.
That's creepy.
Ever since the first director yelled, "Roll 'em," the heartbeat of Hollywood has come from its movie studios. This is where dreams were made, where actors were immortalized as movie stars, and others waited for a starring role that never came. It is not surprising that one of the oldest studios in Hollywood is also the most haunted.
All the studios in Hollywood are haunted. There's no question.
Every
Every studio from Warner Brothers to Paramount to MGM Studios, which is now Sony Studios, and many others. And of course, that leads me to the stories of many of the ghosts that, of course, still inhabit these studios.
Wow. That
The Hollywood cult of Dionysus is spreading. Metastasizing.
Wow, what does that mean?
Tyler Perry has created his own studio.
His own studio.
On 330 acres just outside of Atlanta.
The grand opening of the Tyler Perry Studios. Spike Lee and a whole bunch of people were there to celebrate.
I wanted it to be something iconic.
Well, that's basically Beyoncé's middle name. The 38-year-old Formation singer made a surprise appearance at the Tyler Perry Studios grand opening gala on Saturday.
Oprah, Beyonce, Samuel L. Jackson, Spike Lee, all walked the red carpet this weekend attending the star-studded grand opening.
Did you also say the Clintons were there? Did you say that?
The Clintons were there.
Hillary?
The future is female.
It was a big weekend for Tyler Perry.
I admire Margaret Sanger.
Grand opening of his brand new movie studios.
Are you saying that a child on its due date, just hours before delivery, still has no constitutional rights?
Under our law, that is the case. It's very clear that for women of color, Planned Parenthood is the go-to place.
That don't mean it should be.
For the Greeks, the city Dionysia was much more than just an extended drinking binge. Festival goers cross-dressed and danced and sang in ritual processions until the celebrations climaxed in a grand, dramatic competition here at the Theatre of Dionysus.
This is history. This is great to have a studio here. Used to be Confederate fort military base.
But before Perry brought Hollywood to Atlanta, this was once Fort McPherson military base, a Confederate stronghold.
The property that slaves built that was once a Confederate army base.
and now it's a studio, and it's the first of its kind, really everything first class, 12 brand new sound stages.
And even a replica of the White House on site. And while Tyler, of course, will be using the studios for his own productions, he's opened the door to other projects to shoot there, like Walking Dead and Black Panther.
Wonderful. Wow. I didn't know that.
Yep.
The Atlanta Film Complex spans, listen to this, 330 acres with 12 sound stages. It's larger than the Burbank, California lots owned by Warner Brothers, Paramount, and Walt Disney Studios combined. It is ginormous.
Mr. Perry has even created his own Hollywood Walk of Fame in Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay.
Wow.
But there is something very old, very ancient, strategically moving just beneath the surface.
Hollywood.
Oh, look at that.
An unseen
Bafflement.
force, hell-bent on the corruption and destruction of all humanity, especially the children of the promise.
How did all this come to be?
Right.
How did the Hollywood cult of Bacchus get its start?
That's what I want to know.
In 1915, at the dawn of the cinematic age, one film is chiefly responsible for the legendary rise and dominance of Hollywood, a colossal mega blockbuster, which would fundamentally alter the landscape of American culture. D.W. Griffith's
Birth of a Nation.
Birth of a Nation.
Wow, that was a Hollywood film? It was. This it was.
Released in 1915, D.W. Griffith's A Birth of a Nation is one of the most important films in cinema history, and is considered to be the birth of the American film industry. It's hard to overstate the impact that this film had both on the medium of film itself and on culture as a whole. The film was responsible for some major leaps in film technology, but culturally, however, the film carries somewhat of a darker legacy.
Yes, it does.
Focuses on the reconstruction of the South after the war, and the glorious origin of the film's supposed heroes, the Ku Klux Klan.
Yeah.
The film shows South Carolina just after the war. In one scene, a young white girl jumps to her death to avoid being pursued by a black man who is looking to force her into marriage. Meanwhile, our hero, Ben Cameron, sees a group of white children putting on sheets to pretend to be ghosts in order to scare black children, and is inspired to form the Klan to fight back.
Putting on sheets to pretend to be ghosts.
By the end of the film, the Klan regain control of their town from the black oppressors, and on the next election day, they form a line to intimidate black voters and finally restore power. Despite the film's overall message, it was still incredibly popular.
And that's what all the deception is, or really made the twist, is when you say that, see, you're supposed to be a slave right here, and you don't know what it meant to be a slave or how it was termed in the Bible days, and then you say, I'm supposed to slave you because this is what the Bible tells me.
Well, of course, that was a trick that kept them bound, because the twisting of the word.
Correct.
Yeah.
It remained the highest grossing movie of all time until it was replaced by Gone with the Wind in 1939. It was even the first film to be shown in the White House to President Woodrow Wilson.
So we get these stereotypes, these caricatures. And what made all this even more of a caricature was the fact that the major black characters in Birth of a Nation were played by white actors in blackface. And then the movie, of course, comes to this climax with the rise of the Klan.
D.W. Griffith and his cameraman Billy Bitzer made good use of the Hollywood hills behind me, and we judiciously placed smoke bombs that made the battle scenes gripping and epic. Its public screenings were spectacular events.
Is that the lifestyles of the rich and famous?
35-piece orchestras.
Sound like them.
And this is the music the public would have heard. Wagner's Ride of the Valkyries. Griffith's heroes are the Ku Klux Klan.
Listen to the music. It's supposed to sound heroic.
Wow.
The release of the movie, The Birth of a Nation, reignited the unquenchable, seething hatred which motivates the Ku Klux Klan. A reign of terror began. Thousands of human sacrifices were performed, officiated by the masked Grand Dragon and the Grand Imperial Wizard under the light of a burning, desecrated cross.
If there's any one film that demonstrates the power of cinema, it's The Birth of a Nation. Griffith's film broke box office records. The film was so effective that the Klan, which had been dormant for decades, was re-established in 1915.
I wonder.
Just in the South. Within a few years, thousands of Klan members from all over America were marching through Washington, D.C.
Good baby.
Wow.
A satanic secret society called the Ku Klux Klan. The Ku Klux Klan's Masonic origins. It was founded in Pulaski, Tennessee in 1866 by 6 Confederate officers. One of them, and the first Imperial Wizard of the KKK, was a former Confederate general and Freemason, Nathan Bedford Forrest. Albert Pike held the office of Chief Justice of the KKK while he was simultaneously Sovereign Grand Commander of the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry.
Wow.
Albert Pike worships the devil. He was a wicked person.
Albert Pike served as a brigadier general in the Confederate Army. Following the war, Pike was jailed for treason.
Wow.
He was quickly pardoned by a fellow Freemason, President Andrew Johnson. Among eventually becoming a 33-degree Mason and a top leader of the Ku Klux Klan,
Wow.
Pike was also believed to be a Luciferian. He claimed he was able to summon Lucifer at will as the Grand Master of the Order of the Palladium. Palladism, or traditional Satanism, an ancient Luciferian cult, was then introduced.
You see this? You see this?
I know. I mean, this is crazy, but it's like you can't serve and worship God with the mindset and a heart like that.
Absolutely.
I mean, so it doesn't surprise me that, of course, that was who their master was.
But look how it folds down the Hollywood era. Look all
Wow.
behind all
And I
this
was
stuff.
wondering, okay, did this movie, was the KKK already inception when that movie started? I guess so when they did the movie,
Mhm.
but then it reignited.
It gave them pride.
Wow. Wow.
To the inner circle of the Masonic lodges. This influence has flourished into modern-day Freemasonry in the super rites of the upper degrees. Industry, entertainment, the CIA, Congress, and our military leaders are inundated with Freemasonic palladism, or a Luciferian New World Order.
In the same year The Birth of a Nation was first released, a new leader rose to head the Klan. William Joseph Simmons, in this rare newsreel film, leads his followers up Stone Mountain in Georgia for the first initiation ceremony of the reincarnated Klan. Simmons added something new to the Klan uniform, a stylized face mask, which he alone could wear. He also insisted the Klan operate in total secrecy. The Klan's sinister
That's how you know that's satanic. You know it was evil.
power grew as new recruits joined. A group of Klansmen committed the most heinous crime short of murder. As a warning to civil rights leaders, they abducted this man and castrated him. In the first 14 months after World War I, 70 Negroes were lynched, 14 burned.
The blood sacrifices were used to invoke Dionysus, the god of theater, who gives the producers, writers, and actors the inspiration of the unholy spirits, which allows them to put the masses under a spell.
This film made massive profits at the box office, which bankrolled the construction of the Hollywood film industry. So the financial currency was now in place to create the mystical projections which would illuminate the new theaters of Dionysus. But powerful magic requires more than just economic resources. It demands spiritual currency, and there's only one currency universally accepted by demons and fallen angels worldwide, and that's blood.
Yep.
The temples and statues of Dionysus were very numerous in the ancient world. Among the sacrifices which were offered to him in the earliest times, human sacrifices are also mentioned.
Yep.
Wow.
There we go. There we go. Spell casting.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is exciting. This is exciting. I am a fan of our next guest because you know her from Creed, Avengers Endgame, and Westworld. Please welcome Tessa Thompson.
This film, Little Woods, that I have coming out this year is really exciting to me. It talks about the access to reproductive health in this country. And Planned Parenthood was so kind in helping us sort of do that research. And it started with this idea the writer-director Nia DaCosta of looking at the country.
Wow.
So for my donation, I get a water bottle and a Frisbee. That is awesome. Go Hillary! Yeah, I know. Thank you. How about, while that's cooking, you and I just take 15 minutes and hop on a Planned Parenthood phone bank and make them some money?
Terminating my pregnancy was one of the hardest decisions I've ever had to make, but I still feel like it was the right decision for me. I went out on faith and I took a step with my own 2 feet to do something for myself instead of focusing on the needs of everyone else. I feel strong, I feel empowered, and I know that in the future I will make the right decisions for me and my daughter, no matter what life might throw at me.
Now, one of the very important strands of modern progressivism, the idea of eugenics. Who is the figure that comes to mind who embodies this?
I mean, the obvious answer to the question is Margaret Sanger.
Yep.
Thank you for coming. I'm Margaret Sanger.
Margaret Sanger is the founder of Planned Parenthood.
Hello.
In the mid-1920s, Margaret Sanger spoke to a group that came to hear her in full regalia.
Eugenics.
Women of the Ku Klux
The
Klan.
release and cultivation of the better racial elements in our society, and the gradual suppression, elimination, and eventual extirpation of defective stocks, those human weeds which threaten the blooming of the finest.
This woman was not a good woman.
I mean, it's promoted throughout the black communities. But I learned about eugenics in my one of my psychology classes in grad school. We talked about, and I may have even read it about that in undergrad in one of my classes. But it really stuck out about the superior. No, it was psychology, because that's a lot of the psychologists from the very beginning did a lot of experiments, especially on black people. And eugenics was one of the ones that supposedly telling you about the superior gene.
Flowers of American civilization. The most merciful thing that a large family does to one of its infant members is to kill it.
Wow.
By Sanger's time, techniques of racial elimination like lynching had become taboo within the Democratic Party. And so Sanger pioneered a different approach to bring about a similar result. How would you describe Margaret Sanger's so-called Negro Project?
The Negro Project was to bring these birth control and other eugenic measures into the black community.
When Governor Brian Kemp signed the bill banning abortions after 6 weeks, Hollywood pushed back. Many major studios and networks said they may leave if the bill becomes law in January.
I admire Margaret Sanger enormously. I am really in awe of her. And there are a lot of lessons that we can learn from her life and from the cause she launched and fought for and sacrificed so greatly.
It's very clear.
What was the cause? And why was that brought into to our community?
Correct.
That for women of color,
Planned Parenthood is the go-to place.
Why is that?
The vast majority of Planned Parenthood clinics are located in our neighborhoods.
That's right. Why is that?
We were tricked through a slick marketing campaign.
That's
But
right.
now that that's unraveling, people are saying, wait a minute, they sell baby parts?
Hooray for Hollywood! You may be homely in your neighborhood.
Accepting the Emmy is RuPaul.
Thank you so much. This is so lovely. Thank you so much.
A stylized face mask.
Thank you to the Academy. This is so lovely. We are so happy to present this show. I would like to thank, on behalf of the 140 drag queens we have released into the wild.
The Emmy goes to Billy Porter.
Much love to the Actors Fund Nursing Home, my sister, my husband, Adam Porter Smith, Susie Deaton, Lenny Bear, Bill Butler, my Pose cast, everybody in my Pose cast, Ryan Murphy.
So we get these stereotypes, these caricatures.
Orange is the New Black, the Netflix series about life in a women's prison. The show is nominated for 12 Emmys, including one for Laverne Cox, the one and only. She plays a resident hairstylist, Sophia Brissett.
They reward behavior they want to see more of, incentivizing it.
Wow.
Moonlight, Best Picture.
We find answers in the 28th chapter of the book of Deuteronomy.
Deuteronomy 28.
After being delivered from slavery in Egypt, the children of Israel entered into a covenant with
Look
God.
at that.
If they kept the commandments, they would be blessed.
And all these blessings shall come on thee, and overtake thee, if thou shalt hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God.
But if they broke them, they would be cursed.
But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee.
They will be scattered throughout the four corners of the earth.
And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people, from the one end of the earth even unto the other. And there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone.
Wow.
Wow.
They would go into slavery on ships.
And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships. By the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again. And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen. And no man shall buy you.
And their enemies would put yokes of iron on their necks.
Wow.
Because thou servedst not the Lord thy God with joyfulness and with gladness of heart for the abundance of all things, therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies which the Lord shall send against thee, in hunger, and in thirst, and in nakedness, and in want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee. Then men shall say, because they have forsaken the covenant of the Lord God of their fathers, which he made with them when he brought them forth out of the land of Egypt. For they went and served other gods, and worshipped them, gods whom they knew not, and whom he had not given unto them. And the anger of the Lord was kindled against this land to bring upon it all the curses that are written in this book.
Wow.
And the Lord rooted them out of their land in anger and in wrath and in great indignation, and cast them into another land, as it is this day.
The Luciferian occult brotherhoods know that as long as the children of Israel are in sin, they will remain under the curses and perpetual bondage. That's why sin and all manner of degenerate behavior is promoted even more intensely to the so-called African American community. The cult of Bacchus has tormented the Israelites for over 2,000 years.
Wow, look at it from this view.
On the monthly celebration of the king's birthday,
the Jews were taken under bitter constraint to partake in the sacrifices. And when the feast of Dionysus came, they were compelled to walk into procession in honor of Dionysus.
Yo.
Wow.
So we're going to stop right there, y'all.
So, and that was the one thing that the Israelites,
well, I don't know how about
Bible,
you, but it's going through my head.
I know, but it was just like that was the one thing that they weren't able to do. Is every time he freed them and he took them to another place, he said, "Don't serve any other gods but me." And that was the one thing that they always failed with.
Did you know, and that was so funny because when we were at service this Sunday, our pastor, he said there was only one time when God referenced, well, the first time God referenced another God was the God of Mammon, was Mammon, as it, and which is the one that provokes a lot of this, the money. So
it's amazing that there are other gods out there. Like, where did they come from?
God didn't make them. Man made them. Except, I think the only thing that could have been made under God was Mammon. Because how could Mammon make itself, which is money? How could it make itself? But the wood and stone, man made all that
and named it.
Yep.
Interesting.
Remember the main ones? It was Baal. It was Dagon.
Yeah.
It was those first ones that hit me on here. Dagon, Baal. They worshipped the Arash poles.
Wow.
So, y'all, if y'all like this, we will do the other part, man. Get this up to 1,000 likes.
Let's go.
Leading the water, baby.
All right, guys, subscribe to the channel. Keep giving us some feedback. Let us know what you think, because we are truly feeling this.
Yeah.
And we'll see you on the next video.
Yeah.
Educate yourself.